to try and make a story out of it. And
yeah, trying to tell the whole 100-year history. So you're kind of.
okay, well, I won't have the 100-year, but I'll have the last 10.
Right. That's what we're going for. We got a lot out of Dr. Booth and Kathy.
Oh, did you? I bet that was funny. Did you tape Booth?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, you poor people. I bet he was a character, was he?
He's been a little fresh with her.
Are you kidding? Oh, that is so him. The funniest story. He always does these semi-risque things and does them undercover. So one day last year, I get this postcard and it says "Hi Terry" on it, and it's about this big. It comes to administration. It's got naked women on the front of it, and it's all from Italy, with some of the sculptures and everything. And it says, "Hi Terry, thinking of you." And it's a postcard, so everybody that gets my mail, it goes to the mailroom. So everyone in the mailroom has seen it. It comes all the way down the hallway, comes to administration, gets in my stack, and I'm going through my mail, and I open it up, and it's handwritten. And it's got naked women on the front, and it said, "Hi Terry, thinking of you," and no signature, but it's postmarked Italy. And so I go out to the front desk and I said, "Who do I know that is in Italy right now that has sent me a postmarked card?" And I looked at the handwriting and I could not figure out who the handwriting was on it. And finally, it was either Kathy Andrus or someone knew Booth was in Italy. And said, "That's Booth's writing, and he's in Italy." And I just thought, that is right. That is right. That is the kind of stuff he does,
What were the repercussions?
Just no one dares say anything, but I mean, people are going, "Who is sending her pictures of naked women thinking of you?" They all know I'm married and have family, and so.
Did Booth get a call?
No, yeah, I teased him about it afterwards. I said, "You're busted. I know it's you." Yeah, but he's a character. There's no doubt about it. Something like that happens at least once or twice a year. Yeah, he's something. So I don't know what stories he gave you, but. Dear me, cut him out as much as possible.
There wasn't any like that.
It wasn't? That's good. That's good.
Are you good?
Yeah, we're good.
All
Okay,
right.
so tell us your name and when you came here and your
Just about
position.
yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. So Terry Kane, Terrikane, and
You've
I
done
am.
a lot of news, haven't you?
I have a lot of what?
You've done a lot of news, haven't you?
I've been interviewed a lot. It says, "Spell your name."
Yeah, you don't need to do that. But if you would, when you start out, just kind of like you're sort of addressing the audience, so kind of dress out like I'm, Terry
Okay.
Kane, and this
Right.
is who I am. Okay.
All right. I'm Terry Kane. I'm the administrator here at Dixie Regional Medical Center. But when I first came to St. George, I was recruited as the chief operating officer. And it was a crazy time in our past. We were full of anticipation and excited about the new facility that was going to be built on the River Road. Oh dear, let me start again. Okay. Hi, I'm Terry Kane. I'm the administrator here at Dixie Regional Medical Center. And I was recruited 10 years ago to St. George as the chief operating officer. Are you picking up that noise in the back? Do I need to stop?
No, you're okay. You're okay. Go
You can
ahead.
just keep going. You don't need to start over.
Okay. It was an exciting time in St. George. There was a piece of property that had been purchased here from the Formaster family, a field of I don't know what I thought there. Anyway, sagebrush and bushes here, and it was going to be a beautiful medical center. And I had the opportunity to work with the teams to help finish the last of the design of the building, think about our equipment. And then it was really a process of a 2-year build with our construction company. And I was the lead inside the hospital to get our processes together, and at the same time we were thinking about what were the right services to bring up that were going to help us advance our medical center at the same pace that the community was growing. And our first program that was getting a lot of visibility, and one of the reasons why we were building the River Road Hospital, was to advance our medical center to do open heart surgery. So I was working with Dr. Roger Millar, who was then a surgeon at Intermountain LDS Hospital in Salt Lake City. He'd had certainly brought up a previous cardiovascular program, had done over 5,000 heart surgeries in his work, and he was an expert in the field, and we were working with him to bring up our program at the time. So we were establishing exactly what the floors were going to look like, all the equipment, and for those 2 years while we were building the hospital, we were putting in place all the processes to do something different, not only in cardiac surgery, but also in so many of our other departments in the hospital. I don't know, Brady.
That's great. Can you talk a little bit about how the process went of moving from 400 East over here to this campus, and how it went as you opened up the new building?
So only a few of our services were coming over at the time we were moving. We planned to use our 400 East campus, so medicine, surgery, our adult services, our ICU, our emergency department, we're all planning to come to River Road, and we were leaving other services behind. And our number one priority at that time frame was to make sure that patients would be safe in the transport, and making sure that when we got over here we had the equipment and the medication and the staff and personnel to take care of patients. And instrumental to that process was our Transport Life Flight team, who did all the moving of our patients back and forth. We had to double staff, so we had staff taking care of patients on the 400 East campus, and then we had staff that were over here waiting for the patients to arrive on the River Road campus. Whenever you move into somewhere new, and it was bigger, we had to make sure that supplies and medication and personnel and the paperwork, all the computers worked and everything, so that we could do business as usual when the patients were received over here. We didn't have one incident. It went like clockwork, moving patients back and forth. We discharged as many patients as we could and tried not to admit any more during that time period, but we still had a number of patients that had to be moved, and we got that all done in one day. And it was crazy, but it went off really well. We were all very proud of ourselves when we got all through.
Great. Now, I think I've heard that right after you got in here, you had a whole bunch of patients come in, and it got really busy for a while. I think I even heard that you helped on the floor for a while. So could you tell us that story?
Well, we planned for 30% growth. So when we built the River Road Hospital, we shelled in a floor, one complete 36-bed unit. We had a lot of spaces we weren't planning on using. We thought we would use them over time as our volume continued to grow in the community. And as luck would have it, build it and they'll come, we far exceeded the 20 to 30% growth that we'd anticipated. And we were placing patients in rooms we hadn't anticipated using. Most importantly, from a safety perspective, we needed to have personnel to take care of those patients. I remember at one time, if I've got the numbers right, we had 70 traveling nurses in our facility, augmented with our own staff to take care of the patients we had in the hospital. And that presents its own problems because we want to make sure that the individuals that are coming to our community to take care of our patients are the same caliber of people that we want our patients to be taken care of as our own folks. So we had them side by side, and we used an agency that were excellent at getting us good people. And we had many people in our hospital that have RN degrees, myself included, that were in other jobs, whether they be in casework or education or in administration, that pulled a few shifts. I have to say I've never worked as hard in my 30-year career as I worked during those 3 years of moving to the River Road campus and trying to get everything stable. I'll give you a story. Over on the 400 East campus, our emergency room was 12 bays, and we were all in very close proximity of one another. So we move a staff over to the River Road Hospital, and now we've got 30 bays. And we're hundreds of feet separated from rooms, and a patient is in room 10 and a patient is in room 30. And the nurses and physicians have a lot of logistics they have to manage. It was very different than what they experienced in the other facility. We moved from a 9-bed ICU to a 24-bed ICU, and making sure that we had patients contiguous to one another, and people were organized, and we didn't spend all our time running. Those were some of the logistics we had to work through that we hadn't planned on, and became bigger issues as the time went on, and we had to work through them. It took us a couple of years to work through them to get our processes exactly right, and still be able to provide a high quality, high service experience that we're known for to our patients. A lot of good people here at that time that worked very hard.
Great. So could you talk a little bit about, once you moved over here, the remodels and things that changed at the 400 East campus and new services you added over there?
Mm-hmm. Let me add one more thing about the space over here. That shelled-in floor that we built was 36 beds. We were in 6 months. We were back at the drawing board with the architects, drawing out that floor. And a year after we moved into this River Road campus, we had constructed and opened up another 36-bed unit on the 4th floor and moved into it to help us with the volume of patients that we had. While we had that going on, we had a major renovation that was going on the 400 East campus. We had made a commitment. We moved in here, I believe it was November 23rd or so, right after Thanksgiving. And we had made a commitment that we were going to operationalize an acute rehab unit, a service that we'd not had in our community before. And there, it's highly regulated. There are certain requirements that we have to have in place in order to open up that unit. And one was that we had to have a patient in a bed by December 31st. And we cleared out that floor on the 5th floor. It was our medicine unit, brought it over to the River Road campus. And the day that we cleaned the last patient out, we had a construction crew that came in and worked around the clock 24/7 for 6 weeks to completely gut and renovate that floor to meet all the codes and regulations for an acute rehab unit. And we had planned for 2 years for all the staff and the physicians and the services that needed to be in that unit. And we had our first patient in a bed on December 30th so that we could meet the national requirement. That was nothing short of a miracle. That just doesn't happen, a 6-week turnaround time. Lots of people in the community at the time that were helping us with the construction that made that process work. So that's just one example that happened while we were organizing ourselves on the River Road campus that was a major undertaking there on the 400 East campus. But since that time, over a period of a couple of years, we brought up a newborn intensive care unit, a very critical, carefully planned unit for our little premature babies. We were taking care of babies that were up to about 8 weeks early, and our goal was to take care of babies that were 17 weeks early. And we'd recruited the right personnel, the right physicians, but the space needed to be built right in a campus that wasn't ordinarily designed for that, so that you could have infection control and good visibility and teamwork. And we got that done and started that unit, I believe, in 2005. And that unit has done extremely well. It's we monitor those results compared to 800 or 900 other newborn intensive care units that take care of babies down to 17 weeks. And we're consistently in the top 5% of the country in terms of our outcomes, which is a tribute to the people that take care of patients in our hospital, physicians, nurses, therapists, all the others. But they have to have an infrastructure in order to do their work well. And it was great to see that happen on the 400 East campus. Since that time, there's been a renovation for women and children's services to enhance our birthing area, more birthing rooms, more patient rooms. Our pediatric unit has been redesigned. We've had a renovation in our mental health, our inpatient mental health unit. We brought up a hyperbaric chamber over in that space, which is very much like a dive chamber that you would see for patients that have the bends in places where you have oceans and whatnot, but surprisingly enough, that's also very good therapy for patients with wound problems and diabetes and carbon monoxide poisoning. And surprising, in St. George, we have a fair amount of that with Lake Powell houseboats and others that we've been able to help people with. So, and the list goes on. One that we're proud of is it gave us a little extra room to bring up a daycare program for our employees. And something that our employees have wanted for a very long time. And several years later, after we moved, we took some of the space and created a daycare program for the employees and physicians that work in our hospital. And today we have 190 children over there that are being taken care of by our daycare program while their families work at our hospital.
Great. Yeah, we filmed there actually earlier. We filmed for Nice.
Did you?
Do you want to talk a little bit about the cancer center, maybe? So, bringing that on and the advancements we've had over there with cancer.
Well, our cancer program, at one point, and I can't take credit for this, we had a cancer program here when I arrived, was one of the smallest accredited cancer programs in the United States due to a lot of people's efforts over the last 20 years of wanting that service in our community. But it was smaller, and our community was growing. We were getting more physicians. We needed updated equipment. And through the help of philanthropy and our parent organization, Intermountain Healthcare, we've enhanced that program, and it's required us to do renovation over there. We've replaced the linear accelerator with the state-of-the-industry equipment so that we can do radiation oncology. That's the radiation beams that remove cancer cells from the body. And we've done a remodel over there for our medical oncologists so that the offices can be right inside our building and patients can get good care right on site without having to leave and have clinics in the community and then come back to the hospital for their treatments. We lined up the PET CT scanner, which is very important for following cancer patients' therapy along. We put that right close to our cancer center. And we have a beautiful wig shop and a library for patients to get information that keeps them connected to other parts of the world and gives them comfort to know there's a place for them to go and talk to individuals that are very knowledgeable about the condition they have.
Great. Can you mentioned a little bit about the total joint unit. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about that and the success that we've had in that total joint program.
Well, at the time that we were busy, over here on the River Road campus, we had to take a look at where our large volumes of patients were in our patient tower. We identified that we have a lot of total joint patients, and that makes sense when you think about the demographics of our community. Today we do probably 1,000 total joint surgeries in our hospital every year. And several of our orthopedic physicians wanted to have a floor that was dedicated to total joint surgery because of the types of patients we treat here. Typical in our fashion, we did a lot of homework across the country. We made site visits to organizations that had done very specific programs for joint replacement surgery. Some of them are called joint camps. And in this concept, you put the rehabilitation close to the patient. You put food services close to the patient. You create an atmosphere so their family members, we call them coaches. It could be someone they're married to. It could be a family member. It could be a neighbor, somebody who encourages them, stays in the hospital with them, helps them rehabilitate after their surgery. And we like that concept. It's very patient-centered. It gives the patient control. It puts their loved ones around them. It makes more family members educated. It encourages people to get up after surgery instead of keeping them in their room. And we created all sorts of processes that would make the patient experience better. And then we had the good fortune to have a facility that we could build to match that care design. And that was the 4th floor. So we designed that at the time we had the opportunity. And when we opened it up, we've got a gymnasium in the middle. We actually cut a car in half. That was some of the fascination around here. We wanted to teach our patients how to get in and out of a car before they left to go home from the total joint floor. And we went down to the junkyard and found a car in really good shape, cut it in half, And one of our employees here in our hospital that does car renovation refinished the whole thing. And we put it up against the wall, and we use it today to show our patients that have hip and knee replacement surgery how to get in and out of a car without injuring themselves. And we have a cafeteria on the floor, and from day one that we filled the floor with total joint patients, we've been treating them as it's more an experience, that they're not a chronically ill patient. They're someone that's had a surgery, but we're going to get them back to activities of daily life as soon as possible. We encourage them to eat in the cafeteria. They have competition with exercise inside of our gym. We dropped our length of stay considerably. I think we took off almost 2 days in that process. People got better faster. Infection rates went down, satisfaction went up, costs went down. All the things in a healthcare environment you want to see have happened for a population of patients. And our program has been recognized by the Joint Commission that certifies hospitals all across the country. It gave us this last year their insignia of a Joint Center of Excellence. We're the only hospital in the state of Utah that has that designation, and there's only 5, I believe, in the western United States that carry that distinction. So we're very proud of that, and that's a result of lots of people's efforts, our team, including our physicians, that wanted to see something extraordinary happen for our patients.
Great. Could you tell us about the Health and Performance Center, about why you wanted to build that and what went into that whole process?
Well, I feel like that we've been doing day-to-day operations for the 10 years I've been here, and in a parallel path, we've been advancing healthcare. And I sometimes wonder why 2001 has gone to 2012 in a blur, and it just feels like it's gone by very, very fast. And I would tell you that had I not had the caliber of people that work on our administrative team here at the hospital, we would not have been able to accomplish so much in a very short period of time. Around the year 2007, after we'd been in the River Road Hospital now for 4 years, we started to see compression on our services in our hospital, and we were still adding new services to our plate of expanded services in St. George as our community continued to grow. We'd filled up the 400 East campus by now. All that empty space that we had moved out of, we'd put new services in. We had our operating rooms were getting full. All of our medical office building space that we had built on the River Road Hospital and that we had available to us on the 400 East campus were full, and we were adding 20 to 25 new physicians, some of them specialists for new programs we were recruiting every single year, and no place to office them. So given those pressures and the fact that one of the things we were seeing in our strategic plan is that a number of our patients were leaving the community to get spine and back care, and so we attempted to do what we did with the Total Joint Program. We looked across the country. We commissioned a team here at the hospital, and we went to every major back program in the country. The big ones at Cleveland Clinic, at Dartmouth Institute, at the Texas Back Institute. We looked at some of our great programs within Utah over at the University of Utah and Intermountain Medical Center at the time, and we began to formulate our philosophy about what we wanted to accomplish with a spine and pain program for our patients in this community. And as that became more clear, and we knew we had to add additional operating rooms and more medical office building space, we made a proposal to our parent organization, Intermountain Healthcare, what we wanted to accomplish. And we wanted to have this program be outpatient in nature, where we saw the patients coming, getting outpatient surgery, but being able also to get all the other components of their care in one location. So again, we could be patient-centric. So our plan was to put all of our outpatient rehabilitation in one location, put our sports performance programs there, add a swimming pool. A lot of our patients can't take the pounding on the pavement when they do exercise or rehabilitation and do better in the water a lot of our little handicapped children do better in the water. We didn't have a program for pediatric rehab. So we planned for those services in the Health and Performance Center. We planned for imaging and laboratory services and the operating rooms and more medical office building space. And then for our key programs that were spine and pain that we've been focused on, we had learned so much from going across the country that we came to the table, and when we sat down to draw it with our architects, we knew exactly what we wanted. One of the benefits we have in St. George, I have to say, I've worked in a lot of Intermountain hospitals. I've worked for Intermountain my entire career, but oftentimes when we bring up a new program, we have space that's already there, and we have to accommodate to the space that's there. Sometimes we can achieve the things we want to do, and sometimes we have to make compromises. Here in St. George, because of our growth and our size, we had the good fortune of being able to identify these programs, have Intermountain support, and build buildings to match our dreams. And a little bit, that's what the Health and Performance Center really is. It's a program that is centered around the patient that matches our dreams. So when you walk over there, you will see all of our rehab, as I mentioned before, all in one location. Patients that come down from seeing their orthopedic surgeon or their neurosurgeon walking downstairs to work with their doctors in our rehab centers. And patients that can get their imaging on the exact same day they come to see the doctor, so they don't have to wait for 2 more weeks. And they can get answers to their questions in expedient fashions. So that building went up and was designed and opened up in 2009. We spent 6 months naming that program. Some of our team said, gosh, we're going to confuse the public. We're going to name this Building A, Building B, and Building C, so that people know where to drive. And it just didn't fit right. You know, we tried Rimrock, Building Rimrock Wash, and I can't even remember some of the names now. But because of what was going on in the building with a focus towards more health and a focus towards performance, it just hit front and center to us one day, and we said, we're going to call that the Health and Performance Center. And we commissioned a great piece of artwork in the front of the building from a local 27-year-old gentleman by the name of Josh Spendlev, who was a little bit known in our community, but does beautiful bronze work and had not had a commissioned piece of art. And one day I said, you know, Josh, why don't you draw a picture for me and see if you can capture the vision of this building for us. And he brought in this sample. It had a swimmer and a gymnast and a runner on the front of it, and it was perfect. And it exemplifies where we're going in healthcare. We have been a business of treating the sick, treating the chronically ill, treating the emergencies, and we're still going to do that very well, but we have to position our country to have a greater appreciation for our health. All of us spend our money on our cars, we buy clothes, we take trips, and probably the thing we spend the least amount of money on is the engine that carries our soul, which is our body. And we are going to have to get better at learning more about what's going to keep us healthy and what's going to keep us out of the hospital. And that's the focus of that building, and you're going to see more and more things over the years come out of Dixie Regional Medical Center's Health and Performance Center as we start to take more responsibility for our health.
While you're talking about that, can you talk about the Live Well Center and adding that program?
So we had a little bit of shelled space in that building. It was our goal to bring up a wellness center at the right time. And again, it has to be at a time when the community will support it. And now's the time. So we've dabbled in a little bit of health promotion, and we're getting better at it. Last year, we opened up a center within the Health and Performance Center called Live Well. And it's all a center dedicated to the public and to our employees. So programs are run in there all day long for our seniors, for our sports performance, people like you and I that want to learn how to play golf or want to learn how to be a marathon runner, or who may have had surgery and want to return to a sport with our exercise physiologists and experts in the field that know how to do it. We have a treadmill over there that runs 30 miles an hour. We have 5 kids that can run 26 miles an hour for at least 9 minutes. You ought to come over and see that sometime. As we're developing our Olympic athletes, to train and run for, reaching their goals and their dreams and aspirations. But we want to do it in a way that helps them run right and helps them not injure themselves. We have those capabilities. And I have my parents who are 84 years old, both of them, and my number one priority as they get older is to keep them in their own home as long as possible and to prevent them from falling. So we have a person over there called a kinesiologist who is an expert in balance for older people. And she runs classes for us in the Health and Performance Center, in the Live Well Center. And we have a lot of seniors in there that are learning techniques about how to keep yourself strong and fit for the age you are and how to prevent falls. Those are the kinds of things that are going to reduce costs in the healthcare system and help us get control of, what we're spending. We have youth programs. We have core and exercise programs. Many of our staff are taking advantage of that. We can measure your body mass index and what your calorie burn is, and you can be under the guidance of nutritionalists and dietitians to help you lose weight if that's your goal. We're all about fitness and not about fatness over in the Health and Performance Center. That's the most important goal.
Great. Can you also talk about adding the Lifelike helicopter and what that's done for our community?
So many of the things I've talked about may sound like they've come sporadically, at different times in this last 10 years, but it's all been by design, part of our strategic plan to advance healthcare services in Dixie. When I first came down here, I was recruited by a colleague of mine that I'd worked for many years, and Dr. Sorensen, who was the Chief Operating Officer of Intermountain Healthcare, really envisioned this into the state for how fast we were growing as needing a major healthcare center here. We operate in what we call a hub and spoke model, where in each of the regions where we have a presence with Intermountain Healthcare, we have a large referral center where complex patients come for care, and we support medium and small-sized hospitals because you can't have subspecialty care and these kind of high-end services in every single hospital. It doesn't make sense. You wouldn't have the volume to support them. So if you look across the whole state of Utah, we have this hub and spoke model. We didn't have it in St. George. But that was our goal and our aspiration, to create that at Dixie Regional to support all the other hospitals that we have in the 5-county area down here. So this was by design. And we can't have certain services until we build the foundation for others to come. And our goal was to add a Lifelike helicopter around the year 2010. We have experience in Intermountain Healthcare. We have one of the oldest air transport systems across the entire United States. I think we were number 7 in terms of Lifelike services in the country when they were first initiated. Lots of experience. So we enlisted their help. We're part of that structure. And we went to the community and asked for their support. And over the last several years, our community helped us raise $2.3 million to go against the $8 million investment we would apply just for the hardware to have a helicopter in this end of the state. The hospital then invested in space and a team, and we have 24-hour coverage. They're officed in the Health and Performance Center. Our helicopter arrived last year. Well, it's been 18 months now, and we are doing 1 to 2 flights every single day, saving people and helping people in our 5-county area. It's in preparation for our next big service, and that's to bring neurosurgery to St. George. All these things needed to be in place before we could start doing brain surgery and before we could start taking care of head trauma with accidents that happen in our hospital. We've recruited our first neurosurgeon. He arrived this summer, and our second neurosurgeon will arrive the following summer. And as of today, I just got a report, we've done 12 brain surgeries in our hospital, all with very good results. progress over 10 years.
Yeah. So could you talk about, you already have a little bit, but the future, what you see coming up, what's the next century or whatever going to bring for Dixie Regional Medical?
People often ask me what my vision is for Dixie Regional Medical Center, and I believe truly this town is a destination town. If any of you have ever been to the Mayo Clinic, I know many in the community have heard it. It's a wonderful organization, but it's in Rochester, Minnesota. My husband and I took a trip there once on the way home from visiting our family that lived in Wisconsin. And this is a single-lane road that's out in Nowheresville that opens up to a hospital and a community that was built around a hospital and the vision of two surgeons that started the Mayo Clinic. And I believe we have that potential. It won't happen in my lifetime when I'm here at Dixie in this position, but we're making steady progress to be able to be a place where people are going to come far and wide, not just in St. George, but far and wide, because of our reputation to get care. We have the most amazing physicians here that are very highly trained, major organizations and teaching institutions from all over this country, wonderful staff, great resources of Intermountain Healthcare, which is a tremendous organization. And we have a beautiful community. It's a destination community. We've got the national parks all around us. People want to be here. And so to me, I believe that this is a place where people will come not only to play and recreate, but because of the reputation of the hospital. And so I feel a tremendous responsibility as a leader of the organization to make sure that everything we do is done in an excellent way so that we can position ourselves, continue to position ourselves for that day when all the services are here and we're operating on all cylinders to be able to provide everything that the community needs. So with that in mind, there are some things we have coming up in the future besides our neurosurgical program that will carry me through the end of my career, and then there'll be a great person that will take my place and will probably take us further. But we have 2 building projects on the docket in the 5-year plan with Intermountain Healthcare. One of them is a building that will go into design in 2014. And that building will be placed on the River Road campus, and it will give us yet again another expansion of our emergency room, our operating rooms, and it will bring our acute rehab unit over from the 5th floor on the 400 East campus to be closer to our ICU, where we'll be taking care of more trauma patients, more head injury patients that will need to have the expertise of our physiatrists and that staff as patients are transitioning out of the ICU. And that is our plan here very shortly. And on the heels of that building, as we're constructing that, we'll be designing a 7-story building that will go on the front of this hospital that will really bring the women and children's services from the 400 East campus over here to locate all acute care services here on the River Road campus. And at that time, I see us having a relationship with Primary Children's Medical Center, which is an Intermountain facility in Salt Lake City that takes care of children. What that relationship will look like is in the process of being determined, but we'll be able to take care of more of our children here that are currently going to Salt Lake City for care. Won't take care of everything, but it will take care of much more than we're able to do today. And then we will be all about doing another renovation on that beautiful campus on the 400 East campus to continue to build for our cancer program and our outpatient clinics and expand our mental health capabilities and probably bring additional services that are not even yet thought of to the community.
Great. Can you talk just a little bit about the people that make up this organization and how that helps us be successful?
Well, first of all, in healthcare, we aren't in the business of widgets. Okay, we're not a business of building something and selling it for profit. We're a not-for-profit organization. We exist because of the patient. That's the only reason we're here. And so because of that, it's inherent that you have people that join you here that feel a passion for that. So we hire for people that have a skill set for the job we need. And then beyond that, they have to have extreme integrity because they're going to be working with people in the most vulnerable times of their life. We know things about people that they otherwise wouldn't share with others. It can be simple things like their height and weight, but it can also be their financial situation in terms of whether or not they can pay for services. Some of the reason people are in our hospital are because of very personal situations. And it's our responsibility as healthcare workers to protect their privacy and to be sensitive and be compassionate to help people. That takes a very special type of person to work in this environment. It's the service industry. So not only do we bring the best of us in terms of our clinical skill, but we bring the best of us in terms of our compassion and our integrity. So this hospital has been given a lot of accolades over the years. I tell the story about it in the newspaper. You see as we read it. And the reason I do it is not to pat our hospital on the back as much as it is to build confidence in our community. Over the years, many people that have lived in our community for their whole lifetime may have had their babies here but have never had to use our hospital. We've changed a lot in 10 or 12 years. You can't go anywhere else in the state of Utah and many places in this country where you can get better care than right here at home, and that was our goal. And the way I can share that with the community is by giving them confidence that exceptional things happen here. And they only happen, I can have a building, I can have the best technology in the world that can do amazing things, but none of that happens without people. So I have to have absolutely fantastic physicians, and I have to have absolutely fantastic employees that make a difference, and we do. So I'm sensitive about that, so don't get the tears. Yeah, don't get the tears on that one.
Just one last thing. I was just wondering if you had a story, something that stands out.
So give me a second, Brady.
Yeah.
A story what?
Just something that stands out to you in your career, especially working here, like a great story in healthcare and things.
Boy, let's see. I have a lot of them. Let me just think for a minute. One of the stories that comes to mind, the difference that a hospital can make when you have new services. I'm reminded of the day we moved into, the week that we moved into the River Road Hospital. So let me go back and just paint what our emergency room looked like on 400 East. We had 12 bays. Let's see. Let me stop for just a second, get my wits about me here for a minute. Let's see. So when we moved into the River Road Hospital, I just remember what a challenge it was for us to really adapt in our emergency room, going from the 12 to the 30 beds. Over in the 400 East campus, we had these 12 rooms, and we had one trauma room. And the trauma rooms are used when we have major automobile accidents or major tragedies, so we can get a team in that room and we can stabilize the patient in a rapid cycle before we send them to the operating room or to the floors. Well, I remember we had been in the River Road campus all of 1 week, and that weekend there was a major 2-car rollover out in Colorado City with a number of young kids that were driving too fast on the road. And I remember there was like 8, if I remember right, teenagers that were seriously injured involved in that, and we needed all of our trauma rooms. Had we been in the River Road, if we had not been in the River Road Hospital and been on 400 East, we would have had to have shipped those patients and not been able to help them with the capacity we now had in the River Road campus. So I just remember how grateful everyone was that we had just-in-time new facility to be able to give good care. On the heels of that, I remember telling you a little bit about Roger Millar coming here, our cardiovascular surgeon with Dr. Corey Woodbury. And this was 2 weeks after our first open heart surgery program, our first open heart surgery patient had been operated on. So we moved in November. We did our first open heart surgery patient in December after 3 years of planning. And one weekend, about 3 weeks into this, we had a young father, he was 40 years old, that had come into our emergency room with crushing chest pain. And our emergency room physicians diagnosed him as not having a heart attack, but as having a ruptured aorta, which is a major blood vessel that supports blood to the human body. Typically, if you're not in a major medical center where it has major heart capabilities, you don't even have a chance of survival because patients bleed. This was on a Saturday, and we came into our hospital. Our cardiac program was up and running. Our 2 cardiac surgeons were in the hospital. Diagnosis was made in 20 minutes, and the patient was in the operating room. And the long story short is 4 days later, this father who had 4 children walked out of our hospital. 2 weeks before that, he would have never made it.
That's great.
Okay.
Anything else?
Very great.
Okay. Take the tears and all the other
You're
stuff away.
obviously very emotionally